Hello and welcome to another edition of Empathy at the Table. I'm your host, Tony Anagor, and today I'm having a wonderful conversation with Nicoleta Iordan from Romania. Nicoleta is an entrepreneur with a fantastic story. She has built a bookstore, a chain of bookstores from 0 to 800 people with 55 bookstores throughout the whole of Romania. Her approach is embedded in empathy and true values. And we're going to hear her story, how she has navigated the world of business and maintained a sustainable, profitable company, which is all based around her passion. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. Really looking forward. Tune in to Empathy at the Table. Hello, Nicoleta Iordan. Thank you very much for joining us today on Empathy at the Table. It's a real pleasure to have you here. Just to kick off, I'd like to just ask you to introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who we're speaking to today on Empathy at the Table.
Hello, Tony. Thank you for challenging me to do this. Hello, everybody. So yes, I am a passionate reader. I think this is the first thing that you should know about me. I love books, and I've made a career out of my passion. So I am a cultural entrepreneur. I, together with a co-founder, we have started with one bookstore, and now we have a network of bookstores around Romania and the Republic of Moldova.
Fantastic. So I want to put some context onto this conversation because I know I really had to be kind of gently insistent that you did this interview with us. You didn't want to. At first you were like, no, I don't do that type of thing. I'm really uncomfortable doing so. And then if you remember, the conversation was, well, if you focus on you, then maybe you might feel uncomfortable and embarrassed and shy. But if you focus on the people that gain inspiration from your story, then the narrative changes. So I'm really, really pleased that you accepted my invitation to join us here today. And so I'd like to kick off by, I did some research on you, and there's not much online about you, actually, Nicoleta. You've kind of... I've written here, you are the most humble entrepreneur that I've met in a long time. You have 55 bookstores throughout the country. You have over 800 staff in your company. And you've made a passion out of what you really love doing. I mean, you've just made a living and you've enthused over 800 people with that. Was this always your dream? Was this the plan where you are now?
Well, you don't really open a bookstore having in mind that you're going to get a national network at a certain point in time. No, it was out of pure passion, and it all started like a hobby for me and my co-founder. Actually, I started my career in one of the big fours, but even if it was a place with lots of opportunities, and you can imagine how great this was in the 90s, just after revolution, after the fall of the communist regime. But there was always something inside me, something that I always wanted to do something bigger, to something that would fulfill me better. And yes, I always had this love for books, and I was so sure that so many other people would have this passion. Now, I have to say a few things about how the landscape of the book industry was in Romania at that time. Because if you live in I don't know if people would listen to me, but they live in UK or France and Germany, you wouldn't really understand how the society was at that time in Romania, and why a bookstore such a bookstore would really mean something for the community. So at that time, a lot of bookstores were closing after the fall of the communist regime, and the few that remained were like really dusty places, and with booksellers that were not at all enthusiastic, and the selection of books was poor, and the display was poor. So it was not a friendly interaction when you entered the bookstore. And it was so sad. I mean, I had that feeling that books really deserve so much better, so much more. You know, they deserve a better place. So it was this common interest that I shared with my co-founder, and he had also that feeling that it's not just him and me. There are so many other people, but they just don't know how to express this. And those years were really troubling in Romania, and I think in all other countries that just went through this transition period after the communist and towards a democracy. And you know, books and intellectual values were not the real values of the society at that time. So it was not at all cool to speak about books or about reading, or even to I don't know, to walk on the street with a book in your hand. It was not cool at all.
Wow.
But we had that feeling that it's not just us. There should be more of us. So that this is how the first bookstore was opened.
Wow. And I like the term you say, you're cultural entrepreneur, and that I mean that's when you listen to it, I mean that's a real a kind of deep description, because the way you describe books, it's almost like the cornerstone of a culture is in books, right? You can learn so much about the status of the individuals in a culture just by how they depict it in words. And so when you came up with the idea of creating a bookstore, it seems that you created, it was like a reading experience, because I've seen some of the images of your bookstores and they look incredible. They look like places that, you'd want to go and literally spend the whole day just there and connecting with people. So tell me a little bit about how you planned that whole landscape and how you planned the whole experience around books and reading.
Yeah, even from the beginning, and even nowadays, we spend hundreds of hours. I think it sounds a lot, but we do spend hundreds of hours together with architects and designers in planning and designing our bookstores. Exactly because we have this feeling that going into a bookstore is more like a ritual. It's like self-discovery and discovery of, I don't know, books. In books you can find what mankind has produced all over the years, has the best of the mankind, the best of the creativity people came with in all these years. It's somehow, crowded on the shelves of a bookstore. So you need a particular state of mind when you enter a bookstore, and you need some space. People don't come to our bookstores having in mind just that, it's not a transactional activity when you enter a bookstore. You need some time to spend to browse the books. Maybe you want to sit, on a pillow, in an armchair, and spend some time, or maybe you just immerse yourself in the conversation that's around you. They say that the discoverability is the most important thing about bookstores, and it's what make them so particular in comparison to the online selling of books. You know, the way you immerse yourself in and the conversations, you hear the booksellers talking about, I don't know what book or bestseller, and you hear some teenagers talking about their favorite book, and you see, like, you can see hundreds, hundreds, your eyes can read hundreds of authors and books in just a few seconds. So all this environment is so important, and so we spend a lot of time in how the lighting comes, how you can get a comfort area where you can sit a little bit. The teenagers love to sit on the floor, so you have to, I don't know, to have carpeted floor maybe for them, or some, I don't know,
Wow.
pillows or cushions, for them. So all these details are so important when you, and it depends also the size. We have all sizes of bookstores, like really tiny ones, like 40, 50, 90 square meters. And also someone like 1,000 or 1,500 square meters. So how you make this like a whole experience for people? And it's true. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I want to get into some of the meat, because it's such a beautiful fairy tale that you're telling. Your story. And my kids are 14, and I love when they're sitting and they're reading, and in the middle of the book they start laughing, or they get shocked, and then they want to share the story with me and say, "Daddy, you know what's happening?" And then they want to buy the next book, and so it's such a beautiful, all-encompassing experience. But then let's go behind that and look at you as the person, right? So you've got 65 contacts on LinkedIn. You are, as I said, very humble entrepreneur, but you lead a huge company. What's your leadership style? What is it that you do that's really special, that's enabled you to grow a company from a startup to where you are now, scaling?
Yeah, about my LinkedIn, I've just set up my account when I actually joined
so you didn't have
the
a
training
LinkedIn
program. I didn't have a LinkedIn, I think I simply don't have enough time to also to I don't know, to update my profile and read social media.
Well, that's not a bad thing, Nicoleta. It's not a bad thing. I think a lot of people would like not to spend so much time on social media. So for you, it seems that the pursuit of your passion is greater than spending time on social media.
Social media has its benefits, though. So but coming back to well, when you start a company, when you start an organization, you don't really think about leadership or organization culture. By the time you find out about the organization culture, the culture itself is already in place, and it has its own life among the people in the organization. So I don't think I bothered too much about my leadership style until the recent years, when the organization grew, and now it's a large organization, and I'm questioning a lot my leadership style, and so does my co-founder. And we are, as I said, both of us are somehow, maybe somehow humble, as you say, but actually we are permanently under, as I said, under construction. We like to develop ourselves. We learn a lot. We have this feeling that we still have a lot to learn. What both of us have in common as leaders, I think, is we reject, both of us, we hate imposing things on other people. So I think we've created a culture of consensus, like a real consensus. So many things that I will say about our organization culture or about our leadership will come actually from consultants that worked with us. Because when you're inside, you don't really know, well, how am I? Am I a good leader? Am I a bad leader? How is my company? How is it? Is it a healthy cultural organization or not? But actually, when you start working with some consultants, because sometimes you feel like you need some extra help, then they watch the organization and they tell you, actually, they told us that you've developed this sort of culture, of consensus. So we have actually a very flat organization with an extremely flat organization structure. I mean, we don't have board meetings with 6 or 7 people. Our board meetings have 25 or 30 people. We all our discussion, all our meetings are actually more discussions. We discuss about things and we question them from every angle possible. And we, they said, look, you have some sort of unique authenticity in the interactions of the people that work in your company. Again, the consultants, they told us. So they love the thing that it's all natural and that everybody really feels at home somehow.
Wow.
We even have young people in the bookstores. We work with really young people, like 20, 21, 22. Some of them are still students when they begin working with us, and they, in the first few weeks, they say this: I feel so welcome here. I feel more welcome and tolerated here than I was, I don't know, at home or at school. Or so there must be something about this.
Well, you said here unique authenticity. I love this, and even the way you express yourself, you express yourself in a way that is, you still have like a beginner's mindset to everything. Like everything, as you said, it's a work in progress, and I really love that. However, I've got to push you on this because I find it difficult to understand how you can scale a company from 0 to 800 by accident. And not have certain things where you say, okay, right, no, this is absolutely one of our values, and we will be really firm on this. These are some areas where they're non-negotiable, right? And you've got to be tough and assertive on those areas. Have you come across any of those situations as you've scaled up?
Our values. if I have to speak about our values are in the area of sharing. You mentioned earlier about how you love when your children share about books. Well, our sharing is our first value. We've realized that we've worked it with together with 50 people of our core team and the consultants. So this actually came up as our main value, sharing, and it goes to the to the core of our it goes to the core of ourselves as book lovers, because this is what books are about. Writers sharing about their experience to the whole world. You reading the book and wanting to share about it with your best friend or with your mother or with your sister. It is about sharing. This is the essence. So our values are in this area: curiosity, diversity. If you love books, you love diversity. Books is about different opinions, different perspectives, different stories. You see?
Yeah.
So
So let's talk negotiation, because this podcast is around how we negotiate using emotional intelligence. And I've kind of pushed you a bit on this, and you've been very consistent. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years anyway, and you have been consistent with the level of empathy that you show. I mean, this is real. It's not fake. This is real. This is you as a person. You had a quick point you wanted to jump in?
yes,
Yes, please.
About empathy. A few years ago, one of the big fours ran a huge study, a comprehensive study on a customer experience on hundreds of organizations, of brands, Romanian and international brands, retail, service, banking, everything in Romania. And we didn't even know about this study, and we found out when it was published in the press, in the paper, that actually our bookstore was the first in empathy. So it was the second, I think, customer experience. The customers voted Cărturești as the second overall and the first in empathy. We are so surprised, and we didn't even understand what's empathy for. But then I connected it back to the empathy we share inside the organization with our people.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you saying that you mirror what a book is. A book is all about sharing. It's all about, a book doesn't have opinions, a book doesn't judge, it just shares. And if you read a book and you like it, you'll pass that to somebody else. They might see it differently, they might have a different opinion, a different experience, but you're sharing, and it generates that. And so when you talk about getting back to negotiation, when you start to have these challenging conversations, do you have investors? Do you have a board of investors? Or
no, we don't. I think we are fortunate about this.
Okay.
We've only had banks as as creditors.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about how you've managed to have some of these challenging, difficult conversations, but maintain this high level of empathy towards whoever it is that you're dealing with.
I don't think we are always perfect and empathetic during conversations, but I think we've almost always came back and I don't know, did it again, excused ourselves for, I don't know, maybe pushing too hard or losing our temper in one conversation. But I think this would be like accidents. Normally, we really, and when I say we, I'm including my co-founder, and I'm including some of the leaders in our organization, because the organization somehow mirrors what the founders and the leaders do. If you really care about it, and you cannot fake it, if you really care about the people, they feel it and they pass it on.
Yeah.
You cannot just fake it through, programs and discussions.
They feel it and they pass it on. That's such a great insight, and it's profitable, right? It can be sustainable, long-term profitable, as you've proven.
It can be sustainable. I think it's more difficult. I think it's harder. It's because it challenges you every time, and I think we spend a lot of time in things that maybe other organizations would think is not profitable. So I give you an example. In the last couple of weeks, we spent, I don't know, 100 hours, I don't know how much, but many days, in discussing the layout of our new offices, and how the new offices should embody the spirit of our organization, and how the people should collaborate more in the new office space. So and we invite everybody to contribute. We don't just say, look, this is your office, this is where you are going to work. We hear them, we listen to them. And I don't know if many organizations do this, spending so much time on this. But it's important.
It sounds like a lot of the stuff that you know one would read in a management book or a leadership book on how to become an empathetic leader and lead with vulnerability. It seems that you're just doing this naturally. It feels like it's a natural part of who you are as a person.
I think yes. I think we resisted. Myself and my co-founder, we resisted many of the things coming towards us from this, I don't know, corporate world. We read a lot. We read a lot of management books, but somehow we use our own, judgment and discerning what's suitable for our organization and what's not.
What advice would you give to someone who is just kind of starting off in business, whether they be working for a large corporate company or whether they be actually setting up a new company? What advice would you give them to figure out who it is they are, right? What are their values before actually going in to interact in a corporate environment?
I think a piece of advice that is undervalued somehow is trust people. Trust people and use common sense when you really have to make decisions or tough decisions about people. I think many of the corporate rules and regulations and handbooks of hundreds of pages about how to behave in an organizations are written because managers or leaders do not trust people. As and they put so many rules and they try to intermediate somehow the relationships. But I have this feeling that you're asking me how have we succeeded to build a large organization without imposing things or without I think this is the key, because people believe in our mission, in our goal, and they just do their best. They just do their best, and people like this fulfillment. People like the work is important for people. Doing a good job makes people feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
So if you have this in mind.
Yeah. One of my good friends always says, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes to work expecting to have a bad day. I mean, they want to have a good day, right? They want to add value during the day. I'm just fascinated, Nicoleta, I really am, at how you have really managed to stick to what it is that you know and you believe to be true about yourself and about your company. And then you've managed to infuse those values into others. Is that what you've done? You've infused your values into your people, your team, or did you hire people specifically who had these values anyway?
I think it's difficult to find exactly these values when you have an interview, to look for these values when you have an interview with someone. Naturally, people with some interests would join our company But not all of them, that's for sure, not all of them would have this or the same level of trust in other people. Let's put it this way. Or the same level of understanding, flexibility. But I'm certain about this. I've seen it with my eyes. People that were a bit more rigid when they came to our company, they changed themselves and they started to be more flexible and more understanding about the people. You see these changes. So I think it is contagious somehow.
So unique authenticity is contagious. Nicoleta, we're coming to the end of our incredible conversation. I think it's really important for people to hear you and see you and know that it really is possible to build a company that has a purpose, that is aligned with your passion, is aligned with your values. It's not easy. It is our hard work. It takes longer. Maybe some leaders don't have the time to invest, or they don't choose not to have the time to invest. But it really, it's from what I'm hearing from you, and I know you personally, there are some incredible rewards. There's a big pot of gold at the end of this if you would only continue to do so.
Yeah, I totally agree.
How can our listeners find you? If somebody is totally inspired by your story and they want to maybe contact you or know more about you, how can they find you? And what are you working on at the moment as well? That's really exciting.
They can find me on LinkedIn, although I don't have so many connections so far. Well, I am working at. It's an everyday project, and it is work in progress all the time. It is under construction. Although we are such a big company, we still have the feeling that it's a startup, and sometimes we feel like it.
Yeah.
It's a startup. So I'm in Carturești working there. Loads of projects.
Let's give a name to that company. It's Carturești.
It's Carturești. It's Carturesti. I know it's difficult to pronounce.
And where did the name come from?
It's in Romanian. It would mean the village of books. So carte is book in Romanian. So Carturești would be the village of books.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put all of this information in the show notes. So listeners, if you're interested in contacting Nicoleta and learning more about her story and how you can build a sustainable business based on values and on your passion, and bring people along with you as well, using emotional intelligence and empathy. And Nicoleta has embodied that. And I want to thank you very much, Nicoleta, for taking the time to join us. I know you were very nervous about joining us and sharing, but how do you feel? How's it gone? Was it okay?
Oh, it's okay, yes. It's great.
Hopefully this is not the first time. Hopefully we'll see you again. And thank you very much for spending time with us. All the very best, Nicoleta.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.